Hi everyone, let's paint this beautiful landscape together. I will guide you step by step through the tutorial for this beautiful painting here. I'm painting this on an A5 portrait sketchbook. This is a hand-bound 270 GSM sketchbook. I have a very rough pencil sketch ready for just the house part of the countryside that we are painting. Beginning in with the gray just above the hut that we are going to be painting. I'm beginning with the gray in a very medium consistency, outlining the house carefully. For the rest part of the sky, I'm going to be working with white and blue. So I'm picking up white gouache directly from my palette. I have very less white gouache left into this. That is the reason I'm dipping my gray color brush directly. But in case if you do not have, if you are using white, make sure you use a clean brush. Next, picking up a little bit of the cerulean blue here and just adding it roughly. At the moment, I'm just adding the paints I will blend them all later on. So my sky is majorly going to be a beautiful blue sky with little hints of white and grayish stormy kind of a look. Now again, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the white and add it towards the right part of the sky. My main way of working with landscapes is going without any pencil sketch. I try and avoid as much as possible because that is absolutely not my style, except and until I want to add in any silhouette like the hut out here. And very rarely I go ahead with just the pencil sketch for the horizon line or just marking out simple outlines distinguishing the pieces of the landscape. Now with the white, I'm going ahead and blending the entire sky, and you will see I get different tones of blues into my sky with little hints of white randomly at spots. I'll quickly blend this out and I'll show you. So just in the center you can see I got that little white spot and rest of the space is all well blended. Now for the hut, I'm beginning in with a very light tone of the gray in the front space. The back part of it will be brown tone. For this gray color, you can just add in a very little hint of black to your white. In case if you want a bluish gray color, you can add in a little hint of a blue color along with black and white. White will be more to get that grayish tint, and black and blue will be very less. Now using in the black color, I will give a very fine outline here, and then quickly using in a damp brush, I will blend this. So now I'm just cleaning my brush and using this damp brush which has very little water, I will just run between the black and the gray part, and you will see the black color getting in the smooth blended edge with the gray color, creating in that outline yet a very light shadow effect. Just picking up little more of the black, and I will quickly blend it with the white out there in the front space, such that you have a very small shadow effect here in the front area of the hut that we are painting. Now at the entire back part, I'm just going to go ahead with a mix of the burnt sienna and the burnt umber. Very little burnt umber. If you do not have a burnt umber, you can just mix in a little hint of black or blue to your brown color, whichever basic brown you have, and just add it as a mid-tone brown. Do not go with the darkest tone of brown here because we are going to add in little texture on top of this. For that, you will need the darker tones. Now towards the left of the hut as well, just adding in that little, texture that we are going to create of the wooden stuff. So just adding a small line here as well. Now by the time that space dries out, I'm going to fill in the entire rest of the space with the black color quickly. So the entire white space that you see in my painting right now, I will quickly fill it up with the black color. With gouache, you need to wait for the layers to dry to work on top of it. So say when I want to add in the details on top of the hut or the house that you're painting, you need to wait for the first layer to dry to begin adding in texture to create in that wooden spots. Same way in the bottom space, the field space that we'll be adding in the green details on top of black. So we'll have to wait for the black layer to dry out as well and then add the green details. So always make sure that your previous layers are completely dry when you're working with gouache for layering. Otherwise the colors will blend into each other and will not give you that distinctive look. Now here at the top you can see I'm just going ahead using the tip of my round brush and adding in simple bush detail. Just dabbing in the tip of my brush, creating in rough texture for the bush, and the entire bottom space I'm still going to fill it with the black color completely. Now you can see since my sky is already completely dried out, when I'm adding the black color on top of the blue and the whites, the colors are not blending into each other. The black is perfectly visible as an opaque layer on top of the blue and the whites. So that is what I meant when you are, painting or layering with gouache. You need to make sure that your previous layers are dried so that you get in that opaque finish to your layers with each layer that you're building. At the bottom of the house, you can see I've taken a little of the blacks on top of it, because there also we are going to show in that this is, completely stuck in between the greenery space. So I'm almost done with the black part as well. Now let's go ahead and add in the details into the hut here. So I'm just going to use the burnt umber color directly. If you do not have a burnt umber, now you can darken the base layer brown that you've used with the help of black or brown. With the help of black or blue, and use that darker brown to just create some wooden texture. So I'm adding simple lines. First I'm going ahead with the horizontal lines, as you can see, and then on top of it I'm just going to add in some simple vertical lines very randomly here and there. In the front space I've just added a small wooden window with the help of the black color. You can see again that also I have made it very rough and uneven, not giving in that finished look, because we are going ahead with a countryside painting. Now using this damp flat brush in a smaller size, I've just picked up the brown color and I'm adding little dry brush texture to create the wooden hint on top of these, like those wooden bricks that are actually kept in these countryside houses. So that is what I'm trying to create here with the help of the texture. Now same way, using in the black color, I'm just going to add in little more details. So you know, just random dust or rocks or collected on top of it that I'm trying to show in. We'll blend these again with a little bit if needed, and make sure you do not go ahead with a lot of black also, because you want the brown and the wooden textures to be visible as well. Now my black layer is completely dried. On top of it, I'm going ahead with the green layer. I'm just using a spoiled round brush and dabbing with a very, medium consistency paint with the green color. Now when I'm dabbing with this green color, I'll make sure that my bottommost space has a lot of black visible. Plus at the top areas, I still have the blacks visible, because the black is going to act in as the shadow to your greens that you're going to create. That is the reason we went ahead with an entire black layer first, and then now going ahead with the greens on top of the blacks. It's always better to begin in with the darker layers and then layer it with the lighter colors when coming to gouache, because gouache being an opaque medium, even the lighter tones will be visible perfectly on top of the darker colors. You can see how this dark green is still visible on the darkmost color, that is black. Now I've shown you this one layer. I'm going to quickly go ahead, add in 2 more layers of green. Now here you can see I've added the 2 layers of green in such a way that the dark green and the blacks are still visible. Now randomly with the light green, I'm going ahead adding in some grass strokes here and there. I've even added some grass strokes with the darker green color, as you can see. I'm just creating in some bush detail with the light green color as well quickly. Now when you go ahead with the greens, make sure you use different tones of the green so that each green is visible. Make sure that each green, when you shift to another tone, is less in space as compared to the previous green. So here you can see my black is still visible, the darker green is still visible, my lighter green is visible. So always with the next layer you have to go less in quantity so that the previous layer is still visible, acting in as the shadow. I'm going ahead with one more layer of the green, adding in simple strokes. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in some simple leaf structures as well. Now quickly using in the light green, I'm just adding in some very more small dots. To this I've added in a little bit of the yellow so that I can create in this very light green tone. And now at the bottommost space as well, I'm just going to go ahead and create simple leaf strokes. For that I'm just going to begin with a pointed tip, press my brush, lift. Begin with a pointed tip, press your brush, lift. Pointed tip, press, lift. So it's a very simple technique to create these one stroke leaves. You can create them of any sizes depending on the size of your painting that you're going ahead with. Now still you can see my bottommost space still has the black visible a lot. I'm just adding some simple green dots randomly here and there to act in as the leaves. But you can see how beautifully the black in between the greens in the entire space is acting in as beautiful shadows to your green that you've added. So this is how a easy way to create in the shadows when you're working with your landscape painting. Begin in with black or the shadow color that you want and then begin layering. That will always help you with the shadow. Otherwise adding the shadow on top after adding in the element becomes a little tricky and difficult. Now for the florals, I'm going ahead with a bright yellow color. I'm going to add in some simple daisies and then some daisies I'm going to show in as in if they're in their blooming stage. I'm using this bright yellow color. Make sure you use in a bright popping yellow. Otherwise you can add in a little hint of white if you do not have such a bright yellow. Because you know the greens and the yellows are very close to each other tones. And sometimes after drying they may camouflage into each other. So it's always better to use in a very bright color for the florals so that the leaves and the florals stand out distinctively. Now here you can see I'm adding in some very small buds kind of florals, like these buds are just about to bloom. This is a mix of florals that you use in, and I'm just spreading them across so that I do not overdo these. Now to highlight these florals a little more, I'll go ahead with a layer of white paint on top of these florals, creating in little strokes and highlighting spots. So for that, I'll have to wait for the yellows to dry completely. So now my yellows are dried, so I'm using in pure white gouache and I'm just going to add in some highlighting strokes on top of these white florals. So make sure that your yellow is completely dried. You can see my yellow is still distinctively visible between the greens, but with the help of the white, it will have little more popping strokes. I'm just going to add very little highlights and then again I'm going to go ahead with some yellow to add in some more highlighting spots with a very bright yellow color than the previous one as well. So you can see at spots where the yellows haven't dried out bright, adding in white creates in that pop and gives that beautiful glow out there. Now, of course, when I sit to paint, my little toddler has to pop in to just grab my brush or, paint on his own and try to show all of his painting skills at just 10 months of his age. So I was just painting this, and meanwhile, he woke up from his nap, and here he is trying to grab my brush and add in these florals. So now I'll quickly add in the rest of it before he comes in again. Now I add in little brown buds to my florals. Unfortunately, the camera just slipped away because of the little one around. So I'll quickly add it. I just quickly added in those brown buds to my florals randomly. Now at certain spots, I'm just giving more bright yellow effect. That is it. Let's remove in the masking tape. Since this is a handmade paper, it's very tricky to remove the masking tape at times. So go ahead very carefully, even if you're working on a normal paper. And always pull off the masking tape against your paper and once your painting is completely dried. Otherwise, masking tape can tear off and lift your painting as well. If you like this tutorial, make sure to subscribe to my channel and I will see you soon with more such beautiful landscape tutorials coming your way soon. Thank you so much for watching and painting along.